Welcome to the special sessions on social media for disaster risk management. I will be introducing the series on this topic, and I think it's going to be an exciting journey ahead of us as we explore the potential of social media. Now, I'd like to go over the objectives of this session. I will be giving a brief overview of why social media is useful for disaster risk management. Second, I will be highlighting the idea of two-way communication. Two-way means that the sender, usually government or public service agencies, is now going to be able to be a listener. And then the public citizen, who used to be only a listener, can now be a sender of information. Third, we'll be going over some brief examples of social media applications for disaster risk management. And finally, I will be introducing the topics. So now let's go to describe what is social media. This is a group of internet-based applications. They allow users to generate their own content, whether they are ideas, essays, thoughts, diaries, images, videos, and after they create these, they can share them using the internet. Now, there are several popular platforms. In Asia Pacific, the most used social media platform is Facebook. This allows people to connect with other people that they know, either personally or through work connections. And then as they grow their network, they're able to share whatever it is on their mind through this network. So Facebook is very, very friendly, and people are able to use it at any time of the day as long as they have an internet connection. Facebook can be accessed using a laptop or using a smaller device like a tablet, or even a very small device like a mobile cell phone, as long as these have the right internet connection and the right programming. There are other types of social media platforms. Twitter is a platform that allows one to send very short messages, not more than 142 characters at the moment. And because of this format, mobile users can also send messages through Twitter using short messaging or SMS. So they don't need to have internet access as long as they can send the message to the right number. We also have the popular Google and their maps. Google Maps are a mapping resource that anyone can access, and we can put our own pins there to represent special places. We can also put lines over roads or paths that we create. And so these can also be used to represent things that are related to disaster risk. For example, the pin may be a house. It may be your house. You can show the location of your house. You can accompany the pin with a photo to show the quality of your house and whether it's currently underwater and there are people inside who need rescue. You can also put some accompanying information in the form of text, such as the address, how to find it, how many of you are inside. So Google Maps is actually a very user-friendly place to put the location associated with the information that you want to share. Then there's also YouTube, which is a video sharing site. You may be watching this very video over YouTube. So anybody who is inclined to can create their own channel. So you don't have to be a very fancy TV station with your own building and your own broadcasting equipment. No, you just need a web camera and you can make a video and then you can post it on YouTube over your own channel. And this flexibility has allowed organizations like the World Bank, the Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, the Red Cross, any organization actually, to post videos. And this video is also on the UN APC ICT YouTube channel. And so if you know the people who are generating this content and you know what kind of videos that they are spreading, you would want to follow all of the things that they post as they post them. And it's very flexible. You can access it anytime as long as you are connected to the internet. And then finally, there's Instagram, which is a photo sharing site, and it's connected to Facebook. So people are using it to share photos as they will. And the nice thing about it is that it's very fast and they have a good storage system. And so people are inclined to share a lot of these images to the public. And then other people can just download them and enjoy them. And this is quite useful when it comes to, for example, risk assessment. People can share photos about the quality of roads, the quality of houses, the quality of protective structures like dams or walls or dikes. They can show how high a flood is through photos. Yeah? They can show the quality of the water. They can show anything that they want. And what we would like in disaster risk management is that they also show the kind of photos that would help inform our understanding of their disaster risk. Okay, so now I'd like to go to the next slide, which is talking about social media use in the Asia Pacific. So now there are over 1 million users of social media since March 2015. And of this 1 million users, it seems that 27% are actually quite active. So they not only have an account, but they are posting with great frequency. Okay, and that means they're constantly connecting with other people, and they're sharing what's happening to them. They're reacting to what other people are sharing too. And of this 27%, yeah, 906 million of them are accessing it through their mobile. So you have social media users moving around in their cars, going to work, going to school, going back home, going out for a good time, and then they're reflecting all this using social media. And so they're in the habit of sharing, right? Sharing what's happening to them. Now, it's also normal that if they're in trouble, they will also share it over social media. So now we have the potential to get a lot of information from these posts. Yeah? We can use social media as a kind of a thermometer to show how many people are in trouble and how much trouble they may be experiencing. So I think that this is showing that social media is a growing means of communication in the Asia Pacific. Now, we have to accept that it will not reach everyone. Only 27% are using social media. That means there may be a great percentage of people that we will not be able to touch. Now let's look at the next slide, which is looking at how there are some biases on social media use in terms of who's using them. Are they young people or old? Are they male or are they female? So looking at this graph, the ages are segregated, and it looks like most of the users are very young. And that means older people will not be generating as much content, and they may not be reached by the kind of risk information that we spread through social media. Furthermore, it seems that more men than women are using social media, at least at this point in time. So then, if we are going to use social media, we have to keep these constraints in mind. And I'll be talking more about this later on when I talk about the idea of a social media strategy. I'm looking at the side on mobile share of the web in Asia. There has been a phenomenal increase in how many people are accessing the internet using mobile. That means that they are not going to be limited to having internet access from behind a school computer or behind a work computer or behind their home computer. Now they can get and share information even when they're in their cars, in school buses, in trains, when they go to a store, if they go to a cafe or a restaurant, as long as the place they go to is offering free Wi-Fi or paid Wi-Fi, then they have the potential to access information. So this means that potentially they could receive early warning no matter where they are. They could receive information on evacuation routes. They could receive information on the behavior of hazards such as tropical cyclones and their arrival times and what's the path, oncoming tsunami, a landslide that's imminent. Yeah, so there's a lot more geographic area that can be covered by the warning systems now if we can design it through mobile. This is just one of the potentials. Mobile can also be used as a platform for learning. E-books can be stored on a mobile so that if someone were interested to learn about how to provide first aid, they could actually learn from a book that is saved onto their mobile. They just need to be able to download it and then, or copy it, and then keep it on their mobile. Even if they didn't have it before and there's a sudden need to have such a book, as long as they have an access to the internet, they can search for it and then find the information that they are desiring. So this means that there is a lot more people who can have access to life-saving information, in dangerous situations, as long as they have access and that they have a mobile phone with them. So now I'm going to look at the slide on social media strategy. So the idea of social media is not to replace all other forms of communication. What we have to figure out is a strategy that integrates social media as a way of conversing with other forms so that television, the internet, radio, two-way radio, and even people physically going to have a conversation, to spread warning, right, to gather data. These are all going to be part of a communication strategy that is comprehensive. If you remember, it's not everyone who has access to internet, and it's not everyone who has access to social media, right, or would want to be on social media. But in disaster risk management, we have to make the effort to reach everybody. So then, we have to do it through as many channels as we can. And social media is going to be one of those channels, especially in the future where more people are going online and are becoming comfortable with the internet and with sharing information about themselves and what's happening over the internet. So I'd like to give a few examples of social media apps. So in this next slide, we have some examples for the 4 phases of disaster risk management. So for example, in mitigation, social media can help facilitate online risk mapping. So where before we would have to have a team of specialists go out into the field and gather information, and it would take them a long time to cover a large area. Now we have the potential of many people from where they are supplying the same information, and then using an online mapping platform to save that information. So this is online risk mapping. They may have no training, or they may have had some training. Maybe they are given a short tutorial through an online video, and then they start mapping. So it's possible now. Now I'd like to talk about how we can use social media to send early warning. So alerts can reach people through multiple ways. We can use physical sirens. We can use television and radio broadcasts about the potential for danger and what people should do. We can also use social media sites, especially if the proper government agencies have already established their sites and have been using these sites to bring out information to the public, to circulate documents. And in this case, in terms of disaster preparedness, they can also use it for early warning. And if they've been active on social media before, by the time that they do need to circulate early warning, it will be as someone who is a trusted source of information. So then people would know that anything that comes out of an official Facebook or Twitter site of the government, then it can be trusted. Yeah? It's not information that's meant to cause panic. No. These are information that the government is bringing out because they would like people to reduce their risk of dying in a disaster or having their property damaged. So then using the social media platform, both in times of peace as well as times of disasters, is a good strategy for government to build a relationship of trust with its citizenry. And it's also a time for the citizen to build their own trust base with the government by having interacted with them before and for a consistent period, and then they engage in the government's social media sites, and then they can also contribute something to the government, some information that the government needs about themselves, their state of health, whether or not they're facing any danger, whether or not they've learned ideas about disaster risk and how to lower it, any kind of content, yeah, that we can share with them. But if we share it to the purpose of managing our risk and learning how to manage our risk, then the government will be able to use this feedback in order to do their service better. Yeah. And then when it comes to times when we are having a serious event, perhaps a major earthquake or a very strong typhoon is headed towards an area, and then people are starting to feel the effects or this damage that has happened. People are trapped. Yeah? Then a lot of times in these conditions, electricity may be cut off, and the only thing that they have around them for sending out a cry for help would be a telephone or a mobile phone. So they can use a telephone to call and ask for assistance. They can also use their mobile phone to send messages and share photos of their situation. And then these messages could reach their friends, the friends who are outside the disaster area, and those messages could be picked up and relayed to the proper rescue authorities. So in times of crisis, there's usually a lot of activity on social media. And then it becomes quite a challenge to be able to sift through all of this. And we'll be exploring that a bit later on in this series. But it's natural for people who are using social media to say, hello everybody, it's a good day. Perhaps they go, oh, my child has done so well, I'm very proud of him. Or they share a photo of the happy faces that they meet when they go to school or when they go to work. So then when they are in trouble, people who are on social media are also motivated to say, please help me. Please rescue us. We are trapped in our house. This is our address. My friends, please pass this information along. So that from their location in their homes, this message can go all around the world and back, so that an effective rescue could actually be mounted from a plea for help that is posted using social media. And there are quite a few examples to this now. Finally, in the process of disaster recovery, social media can be used to collect information about the quality of the recovery process. Is it going on well? Are they replacing homes to a good standard, or are the replacement homes of poor quality and would not be able to withstand another disaster event? Yeah? Or perhaps they could give feedback like, I think the government is doing a good job because they've helped me. My family lost my family lost our home, and then within 2 months we were relocated. So we can get both encouraging feedback as well as the type of feedback that will allow us to improve our efforts towards bringing lives back to a normal path. And then perhaps we can also learn if it's going fast enough or it's too slow by studying the reports that we're getting through social media that people are sharing. So actually, social media can be used through all the phases of disaster risk management. It's not only for the times of emergencies. So this brings me to the idea shown in this slide on risk communication, that we have two-way. Two-way means you have a sender on one side and a receiver on one side, and then they can switch roles. The sender can be the receiver, and the receiver can be the sender. And then they're just exchanging. So this potential for exchange is actually the best thing about social media. People now become agents. They are creators of ideas. They are artists. They take photos and they share them. They are thinkers. They reflect on what's happening around them in the world. So then, in a sense, social media is now stimulating people to try out new behavior, hopefully behavior that will be helping them reduce the possibility of death or protect their homes. Yeah. And then they can help pass along disaster warnings to their friends. For example, if they get an alert that something bad is about to happen, they can go call their neighbors, they can call their friends whom they know don't use social media and pass this information along. If they know that other people will be affected, they would also want to help other people, because that is what social media does. It encourages a feeling of community and a desire to help and be positive towards other people. The two-way information also helps for peer-to-peer learning. You know? person-to-person learning. So you can have children teaching each other, men teaching each other, women teaching each other, old people teaching each other, farmers teaching each other, fisher folk teaching each other. So it doesn't have to be just me telling you about social media and disaster risk management. You can, after this, form your own ideas and reflect on it and post it. Yeah, you can post it on your Twitter account or on your Facebook account, and hopefully you will link people to this video so they can watch for themselves, and then they can also reflect. And then this means that we now have like a more wider way of disseminating information. Where before, if we issue information, maybe we only reach this many people. Now with social media, it can be wider and wider, because the ones that we first reach can spread it along to the ones that they connect with. So that's the beauty of this two-way communication. They can spread it, and it gets spread on like a relay, a relay race. So then there's no telling how many people were reached finally, but we do know that there is a real potential for information to be disseminated, whether it's through social media or through physical means. At least we are able to reach a greater base now from this idea of spreading along. And the spreading along happens through social networks. It's not just through the technological network of the internet, but it's through a social network, a human-to-human network. So this means that social media is something that we have to consider as one of the risk communication tools. And then the rest of the series will be looking at how we can create a strategy so that we maximize this social media platform, knowing that our initial set of people may be young males living in urban areas. Okay, that will be a fair assumption. But beyond that, we can also encourage them to share the information to other young people who may be women, and to share the information to those who are older. So then how can we conceptualize that? And that's what we have to think about in the strategy. This series will also give you ideas for content. What is it should we share? What kind of images, what kind of pictures, what kind of videos can we share? What kind of documents? What is the right content given this field of disaster risk and its management? We will also be giving approaches and examples for how we can disseminate information over the social networking platform. We will give an overview of how social media is a good tool for listening, for getting feedback, for gaining risk information. Where before we would have to engage specialists to collect the information and to do it in a relatively slow process. With social media, we can get it very fast and from multiple people simultaneously. Okay, so this is a very, very good tool for listening. So good, in fact, that now we have to figure out how to listen better, to employ techniques so that we can analyze a lot more data, a greater volume of data and multiple data sets put together so that we can analyze risk from all of them. And then one of the last sessions will be looking into the idea of bias. How do we work against the bias that social media is generally found in urban areas, that social media users are generally younger, and that they tend to be male. And so how do we work against these biases? How do we work against the difficulties that this new technology will also bring with it? Yeah. So I think that social media is relatively new, but we have had about 5 good years of experimenting with it and developing techniques on how to manage it, so that now there is a lot of potential to use it effectively in order to reach the kind of people that we need to help. Eventually, through the effective use of social media, we should be able to touch people's lives at the very end of our lands and far away, even in distant countries, to help them learn about managing disaster risk. And we will also be touched by them, because they're also telling us how they are managing their disaster risk and what their context is. And through this peer-to-peer learning over social media, we're able to enrich our practice, and then we are also supporting each other. Yeah. As citizens, as global citizens, we're supporting each other and helping each other improve lives through disaster risk management. And this is all thanks to social media.